Well, good evening and welcome to the Yahowah vlog. I'm about 7 minutes late, and it's entirely my fault. I've got so preoccupied in things that I was examining that y'all might need a new Yada. You might be able to go to Scratch and Dent. I don't know if they have those stores still across a country, but you might find a replacement up there. Hello, Kevin. It's good to see you up there. You look like you're in your woods.
This is Kirk's woods. Kirk painted this.
Yeah. Oh, those are Kirk's woods. Okay, those are some massive old trees. So you're back in Kirk world. I'm in Kirk world too. You can see. Well, we have the old tree in the sea here over my shoulder. Hey, Kirk, you're looking much better. How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm doing all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that sounds like really enthusiastic, huh? Otherwise, it hasn't changed much from last week.
It's moving along. We're progressing.
We are progressing. Are you pleased with the development of your glossary and translations and Dead Sea Scrolls and all those tools?
No, I'm flabbergasted. I think this stuff is great.
Yeah, it's really progressing. We're making a lot of progress right now on the timeline. We're adding things to it. Leah's getting it all dressed up. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we have Ask Yada now. We have an embedded AI in the site. So we have an Ask Yada engine, and our next big project is now that we have completely redone the site. There's no more what was the WordPress was the plugin that we were using there for a while. No more WordPress involved. It's all proprietary code now for the site. But we're about ready to make some big changes, particularly with a sense of community, so that we can take our act and have it entirely online, because there really isn't a whole lot of value in continuing to play in Facebook and X. They're swamps. You know why? What is the merit in it? Because we're not looking to solicit new covenant members at this point. There's just not enough time for them to come up to speed to be able to demonstrate that they're worthy of being turned into 7-dimensional beings. God's not going to take that risk, not at this point. So we can talk more about that in a moment. But Will, it's good to see you. It looks like is that Jake in the background?
Yeah, Jake, come on. Got a little cameo here for you.
Oh, hey, Jake, how are you, pal?
Oh,
I love your work. I love your songs.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you are. I told your dad that he is only the second most popular O'Brien in the Covenant family.
It's true. Happens everywhere I go with them.
Everywhere you go. Yeah, you are. You are.
Hey, I take the back seat.
Yeah, an absolute favorite. Are you going to join us for the show?
Yeah, he'll be here.
Yeah, I'll be sitting around.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you. We enjoy having you. Have anything you want to say before we get started?
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. Shabbat Shalom. And Dr. Jeff, I see you with all sorts of medical devices. That obviously is not your home unless you've decided to move into the hospital.
Almost. We're in the ICU, so you're joining me. I'm joining you from the ICU here to deal with the cadre of sick, infirmed, and dilapidated.
Well, I hope you don't get any trouble there, doubling down here with us. This is not a paid gig, of course, so you're not competing with your prime job. But it is good to have you here. It does look like that's the privacy that one would get in the ICU. You've got a slot up there for a curtain to pull across, and that's about it. Yes, so there isn't much privacy in such a place. And we have Rich as the king of the cables, the maestro and producer of the show over there on the tree side. I have to look over here to see him because he's over this side as it relates to the monitor, although he is actually on my right side as he's
I'm out in the background waiting for somebody else to show up so I don't have to stay on screen.
Okay, well, we'll see who else joins us. Great to see everyone. It has been a remarkable week. I had the opportunity last night to listen to the highest ranking English-speaking spokesperson for Iran, which is quite an eye-opener. He was the lead of Iran's negotiating team. like the last time that the Trump administration sent the amateurs over, and the son-in-law and Steve Witkoff, the real estate developer and golf buddy, to negotiate strategic deals on nuclear development. I'm sure they're perfectly qualified to do.
Right.
And normal circumstances, it would be illegal for them to actually do either of those things because they're not qualified. But nonetheless, the spokesperson that negotiated with them was on Glenn, I think it's Dryson's show. He's one of the more erudite, articulate YouTubers in terms of his program. I listen to parts of his program most every night as a good way to fall asleep. But he was interviewing this head negotiator on behalf of Iran. And some of the things he said were just amazing. Like he was asked, what would you have to say to Israel? And he says, if I were Israel, I'd stop fighting everybody. But, thank God I'm not Israel. But here's the reality. We don't have to destroy Israel because Israel destroyed itself. Because what they did in Gaza as a reaction to 10/7 was so extreme, they destroyed their reputation around the world. And with them continuing to attack us, and that first night being, a murderous event of our leader and all of his family, and what they're bombing now in terms of infrastructure, Israel has destroyed itself. They don't have any friends anymore. I mean, the world's rooting for us to destroy them because they're completely isolated and they're considered a pariah in the world.
Hmm.
How would you argue with that?
Can't.
You can't. I mean, for longest time, I was conveying the idea that the greatest threat to Israel was the alliance. They call it the Red-Green Alliance, the alliance between Marxists and Muslims, as they were marching to the street and saying, death to Israel and Israel is genocidal and all this sort of thing. That's not true anymore. You know who Israel's greatest enemy is?
Themselves.
Israel.
Israel. It's just abominable. And you've probably noticed, I'm not spending much time on social media these days because I just don't see any purpose in it. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But when you look at posts from Israelis, they think they're doing this great job. They think that they're fighting the terrorists for the world and that they're winning and that this is going to be wonderful and they're still going to get regime change and everything is just peachy keen. But God, that's just not the case. Trump administration is so desperate for a way out of this that they're negotiating with Putin. They're saying, we'll relieve all of your sanctions and everything else if you can give us a way out of this. I mean, they're begging Putin to find a solution. I'm only aware of one way out for America, and it doesn't work. The only way I know is to do what America did with the Houthis, which is you lose, declare victory, and retreat.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is, how can America just leave? If America just leaves under these circumstances, declares victory and leaves, what does that do to the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah.
It's still closed, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
What does it do to Iran's demand that it will continue to destroy its neighbors if its neighbors continue to harbor the United States in its bases? Iran has said, we are not going to stop this war until every Islamic country around us boots out the United States and they have no more American bases. That is our bottom line requirement. So they're not, America can call victory all they want to. Iran's not going to stop. So now what? Do you know what the lead spokesperson called all of the Islamic nations around him? He said they're family dictatorships.
Yeah.
There's not a single one of them was elected. And the people have no respect for them. They're nothing but a a series of family dictatorships. And he says those family dictatorships are all dependent upon handouts and giving handouts, because he says they're nothing but deserts. They're not like Iran in any way, shape, or form. They're all family dictatorships with nothing but oil. And the oil extraction and refining capability in the ports are exceedingly vulnerable. They don't tell America to go by. We will destroy them. They have no water, so they need desalinization. They can't run the desalinization without their oil, and those plants are vulnerable. And they don't grow much food, if any, and so they require the Straits of Hormuz to be open to deliver the food. So, you think they're going to comply with our demand, which is this war does not end, we do not back down until America is kicked out of every base in the Middle Why would they?
Yeah, they won't.
So what does America do because the deal has been, we will defend you. We will give you absolute control over the skies. We'll give you absolute defense from any invader, but you sell all oil in dollars, the petrodollar agreement. The U.S. military is the guarantor of your safety, of your fiefdoms. You can continue to have your family dictatorships, but you sell every ounce of oil in dollars. Now that Iranians have proved that America has no control over the skies in those countries, and that when given the opportunity, America abandoned those bases, and that all of America's most strategic defensive surveillance systems worth billions of dollars were destroyed on the first day by Iran. So what does America have to offer?
Yeah, the mask is off.
The mask is off. I mean, what does America have to? Donald Trump says he's winning this war. What does America have to offer now? Because these fiefdoms, they don't want to go to war against Iran. They know that they're incredibly vulnerable and that America can't defend them. So, and they know that their allegiance to America is what's destroying them. And they already have negotiated a replacement with China and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So America really did destroy itself over this, because, as I say, Iran's not giving up until it gets its demands met. And then they say, well, America is planning to invade with troops that long, skinny island that's in the narrow part of the Strait of Hormuz. America has recalled and put on notice I don't know, 15, 20,000 different American troops to go invade that island. And what his comment was, let them come. He says, I already know that in America, 70% of Americans are opposed to this war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know how many Americans are going to come back in body bags if they do that?
20,000.
Oh, yeah. And what would be the benefit?
None.
Our defense of the Strait of Hormuz isn't on that island. Our defense of the Strait of Hormuz is the thousands of fast boats that we have, both remote control and piloted, that are underground and bunkers on the coast that come out at night unseen. Our mine layers are the same thing. Our short and long range missiles, they aren't there. So we're well defended there. So let's say America conquers it. They gain nothing. And then we're all in. At that point, we're not playing around. At that point, we destroy all of the oil production facilities of all of the, as they said, family dictators and all the nations surrounding us, which their people would actually applaud, because people are not fond of them.
Hmm.
We destroy them all, and now there's no petrodollar. You know how fast he said the United States economy is going to crumble? If they play that game, we'll destroy their economy. Completely destroy it. Unintended consequences, and he had them all. He was just amazingly articulate and laid them all down. And he says, the Mossad brags that they're the greatest investigatory body in the world, and that they know exactly what we have and how many launchers we have and how many launchers they have destroyed and how many missiles we have. And yet every day for the last 2 weeks, he said, they've said that our launchers have been eliminated and our missiles are being depleted and the war is over. No more targets. And every day we launch more missiles and at more targets. This is, how could they be more wrong? And they never say, oh, well, I guess we were wrong. I don't see us. I mean, I begged Israel not to do this because I did not see a way out. I said, this is not going to end like the last time with a ceasefire at the end of 12 days, because this time there is 0% chance that the Iranians are going to do that. I mean, you murdered their leaders. You lied to them once again about negotiations. They know they can't trust you. You've attacked them a second time. You know, I have zero love for Islamic dictatorships, and that's what Iran is. And I think they're despicable. I know more about Islam than anybody on the planet, and read Goddamn Religion, the 5 volumes. So I'm not speaking in favor of Iran. I'm vehemently opposed to the Islamic theocracy in Iran. I think it's deplorable. But I'm also smart enough to know that there is 0% chance of regime change. As a matter of fact, the 1% chance that might have previously existed is now 0%, because rather than having 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people rioting and protesting in the streets, they've against the government, there are millions now that are rallying in favor of their government. You know, you go and bomb and kill 100 schoolgirls. You are not going to engender that country's favor. You bomb them every night. You bomb a refinery right next to Tehran so that the city is soaked in toxic rain.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to hate you. And so this idea that America is going to have any influence there, none. You think America is going to invade with troops? Yeah, what do you think Trump's chances would be if they did that? In fact, the Iranian spokesperson said, I can guarantee you this war is going to last to the midterms in America. What
Wow.
then? He says, you'll have no support. I mean, yeah, he says there's some MAGAs that support Trump that are religious zealots, but other than that, there'll be no support. Oh, what then? The economy will be in ruins. So it was so easy to predict this result. We talked about it on this program over and over again, that this would be the result if they did this thing. And they're supposed to be smart people, and they went and did this thing. And even now, they don't know the consequence of what they have done. I mean, we knew because, we're 70 days now from the time of Israel's troubles. But did you think that Israel would be the biggest cause of Israel's troubles? I would have thought that the Muslims would have been, but they're not. It's Israel. And we're dedicated to Israel. We love Israel, but not the government. So any thoughts? And you, I was tardy to the show because I was so preoccupied.
That you're right. Israel put themselves in this position. This isn't something that happened to Israel. 10/7 was. And looking back, I mean, it was sort of an evil stroke of genius. They did lure them in. They leveled Gaza. And so they set the stage from going forward. They have no political capital. They have no credibility. They have no room for error. And as we make the mistake of bombing a school in, where they just bombed, that's going to come back to Israel. Israel's going to be blamed for the school bombing.
Well, actually,
that
was a cruise missile, and so it was. Even though Trump says, "Oh, Iran has cruise missiles too," no, they don't. Not Tomahawks. That was a Tomahawk. They've actually got a picture of it going into the school. No, right. America did that. First day of the war. But one of the things that the spokesperson also said, Will, is that says one of the things that Israel doesn't seem to be aware of is that not only around the world do they have no support, their support is almost gone in America. He says the last vestige of it was the Republican Party. And he says now the preponderance of young Republicans are opposed to Israel. And part of what you say is true. While Netanyahu and Israel cannot be blamed for that, the misguided or improper targeting of the cruise missile that killed the girls at the school.
Correct.
Israel is being blamed by virtually every pundit, everyone. I can't find a source of news that isn't blaming Israel for yanking Donald Trump into the war. They have it upside down. They think that that Netanyahu controls Trump, as opposed to the fact that Netanyahu is a vassal of Donald Trump. He is his stooge. He is his little monkey on a string.
Yeah.
And so they've got it upside down. But that doesn't change the. Yeah. The point is that the overwhelming preponderance of Americans now see that this war, which is going very poorly, and there is no way out, and it's going to have exceedingly harsh consequences, they're going to blame the war not on Donald Trump. They're going to blame it on Netanyahu.
I have two questions real quick.
Yeah, please.
Well, the first thing is, isn't this really the plan all along for the Trump and Hasatan? I mean, they think exactly the same way. This is nothing but destruction everywhere you go, and it's leading towards, ultimately, it'll have to be a nuclear war at some point.
Yeah, Trump has actually, Kirk, bragged about the potential of using nuclear weapons in Iran. He says that he would destroy it to the point that nothing survives in Iran. The only way you can do that is a nuclear holocaust. And if you deploy nuclear weapons and to that extent, you'd have nothing left of the world, because China and Russia would respond. And it's likely even Pakistan would engage as well and nuke Israel in such a scenario. The point is that when a year and a half ago, when we just based upon what the prophet Yahowah had to say about the person and the nature of the individual, the fact that they are arrogant, that they have deployed their navy around the world. They're known for their whirling wings, their attack helicopters. They are claim that they're the boss of the world, that the world has to do what they want them to do. They're the ones who sell Israel's enemies most of their weapons. And it spoke of that person and country betraying Israel in conjunction with the celebration of Shabbat 7 years before the Messiah Dowd returns with Yahowah. That is just 70 days from now. That would be the 22nd of May of this year. And so all you had to do is to say there's only one country that fits that, and there's only one person who fits that description. And the timing is now. We started talking about this almost 2 years ago. And so the person that Isaiah is condemning as the great betrayer of Israel has to be Donald Trump. And then we went back through and reanalyzed everything that Gabriel, who is Dowd, the Messiah, had to say, and Michael, who is the one who knows about God, Yada, had to say through Daniel regarding the nature of this individual who is described as Donald Trump, sexually perverted, egomaniacal, exceedingly deadly, the goat comb over hair, very long on days, exceedingly old, who forms all these alliances around the world and yet is traitorous even to his own allies. And you realize there's only one person he's describing. It's Donald Trump. And then in this show, I think it was just a week ago, we were dealing with Rahab. And there's 4 prophecies about Rahab, and Rahab is the integration of Satan and a human being. And the way Rahab is described, every adjective of Rahab, every context that Rahab is presented in, there's twice in Isaiah and twice in the Psalms, it describes Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is Satan in the flesh. He is the person that Christians know as the Antichrist. He's the great betrayer of Israel. Israel has put themselves in a position where they are a vassal of Satan. That's what they have done. And they worship now Satan, or Satan's popular. They view him as he was the second coming of Cyrus. Now, Cyrus was quite an egomaniac as well. And he ended up conquering Babylon because he bribed everybody. So it's, not far off. But one of the things, we know a lot about the adversary. He is deadly. Trump is deadly. He is deceitful. Trump is deceitful. Did you hear him in his last speech where he was bragging about the name that he chose for this particular attack and how he just loved it and couldn't wait to celebrate it, and how he came up with the name? It was really, it was so satanic. You're just saying, wait a minute, thousands of people are dead. You've destroyed America's reputation. You put America in an impossible position, and you're celebrating this. Mm-hmm. Have you no conscience? So yes, this is exactly what you would expect from Rahab, from Satan as Donald Trump under these circumstances. So yes, what we're getting, Kirk, is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of affirmations that our declaration now almost 2 years ago that Donald Trump is the great betrayer. He is Satan in the flesh, that it was right on the mark. And it was frightening to say at the time because he hadn't done enough to engender that conclusion. Prophets were clear, it had to be him. And he was also so old, how was he even going to survive another 8 years at that time? 7 years now. Well, we're witnessing it.
So how does that get him to 2029 in Jerusalem if it's not some kind of nuclear event, or is that automatic?
Yeah, it's 2030. January 20. Yeah, January 29th, 2030 is when he arrives during Ramadan. He makes his declaration that he is God on the Ides of March 15th, and then it's April 18th when the two witnesses arrive. That's the timing in 2030. There is no open discussion of how he moves from being president of the United States, having betrayed Israel, to moving to Israel and being heralded as a great savior of Israel, and then of course betrays Israel. All they tell us is that it happens, and that one of the things that happens along the way is the creation of a fake Palestinian state. The Islamic State of Terror is going to be carved out of Israel. And so one of the things it tells us about Rahab, that Yahowah speaks specifically, is he's going to make all sorts of promises to you, and you're going to believe him. And when it comes time to deliver on those promises, like security for Israel after giving up the fake Palestinian state, Yahowah says he'll do nothing. He's a nothing burger. So if I were to speculate, because, we're trying to think these things through, how is all it's going to play out. Sure. I don't think that one of two things is going to happen in the 3 years from now. Either there's not going to be another presidential election, or Donald Trump is going to declare victory no matter what happens in that election. He's not leaving the White House in the next round. He's there to stay. That ballroom and his gold gilding, that's his baby. He ain't living there. He wants that new jet, and no, he's not leaving. But then there comes a time in early 2030 when he has to leave. So he is going to exceed his current term, I think, in the United States. And then he is going to leave the United States, and there's lots of reasons that could happen. The U.S. totally bankrupt. There's nothing left. A nuclear exchange as a result of mistakes associated with, I hate to use the term mistakes because I don't think they're mistakes. No. I think this is malfeasance. And either Iran or with Russia and the Ukraine as we continue to escalate things there, and particularly as Europe threatens a nuclear response. So either of those two, or we continue to be belligerent with China, or China finally just says, we're going to take Taiwan, and the United States has already lost in Iran, and lost to BRICS, and can't afford to lose Taiwan, and can't defeat China militarily. So there's only one weapon that America can successfully deploy against China, and that's our boomers, our nuclear submarines. That's the only weapon we can deploy successfully against Russia, is our nuclear submarine. So is he diabolical enough that he would sacrifice the U.S. to save face and blow it up? Yeah, he is. And all the little Christians would still be praying for him, laying their hands on him, praying for him, man. Christians are amazingly easy to fool. So it could either be the bankruptcy. It could be that that he is finally impeached, and he has no authority. It becomes too miserable for him. The United States, the only country in the world that will still tolerate him, will be Israel. They don't have any other person to tolerate, and they've had so many promises from Trump. They will maybe continue to believe that he's their savior. But he does leave the United States in January 29th of 2030, and he comes to Israel. And so it could be that he finally burns too many bridges politically, and he is impeached. It could be that the U.S. is essentially destroyed in a nuclear holocaust. And it could be that this malfeasance with Iran bankrupts the country. And as a bankrupt country, there's not much fun being president.
Yeah, I see civil war as a possible. If the midterms don't get his way, they impeach him, and then he decides, I'm not leaving in 28, and people are upset enough about that there's that left-right balkanization that he has to flee Washington, and Israel takes him in. Europe's not going to take him in, that's for sure. After the nonsense over Greenland and everything, I wouldn't be surprised that Europe wouldn't nuke the United States at some point. Just
yeah, that one would surprise me. But clearly, Canada and Europe will only give Trump lip service just to avoid his ire, while doing everything they can to form deals now with India and with China and even Russia, particularly now with the Strait of Hormuz closed. Yeah. Europe freezes to death, their factories shut down, and they have nothing if they don't start buying oil from Russia, which is why the sanctions on Russia have to come off. This war was better for Russia. It's such a boon to Russia. It's hard to imagine that America could do something that would be this advantageous to Russia. And, all of the little numbskulls, the Lindsey Grahams and the Kellogg's and the like that have been on the airways, we're always talking about what a brilliant strategic move to decapitate Iran and to take Iran from China and Russia. No, it's what they did is they gave the Middle East and the petrodollar to BRICS and to China and Russia, and grossly enriched Russia, while turning the world towards China in terms of business. So I don't see it. I mean, I don't see any chance that America comes out of this hole, and I don't see any way that Israel will survive it, but I don't see any way for Israel to come out of it without being scathed to such a significant degree that it's tough to live in Israel. What the things we don't know is really how badly Israel is being pummeled. There are people that post and say, "Oh, it's not nearly as bad as the last time." Well, if it's not as bad as the last time, and the last time you allowed film and video of what occurred, and this time, not only don't you allow it, it's a 5-year prison sentence if you film anything that is happening relative to these missile attacks and drone attacks. We don't know. I mean, I've seen, but what you would assume is that that all nations, when they're fighting a war, are keen on releasing any good news as propaganda.
Sure.
And they are keen on covering up all news that's bad. And when they're not showing anything that's happening inside of Israel, what do you think?
That's bad.
Is bad. I've seen,
sorry.
I've seen some really, just one sec. I've just seen really effective, credible sources talk about these cluster bombs and how the cluster bombs have spread out and what they have attacked. And boy, there's a lot of very solid evidence that Israel has suffered a lot this time. But as I say, we'll have to wait and see. The other thing that they say is that the U.S. bases across the Middle East are essentially destroyed.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes, Kirk?
I was just going to ask, is there any, for those of us who have Yehudim children, whatever, Sylvia's children, friends, should they go to Australia? I mean, it scares me to death with America.
No, absolutely not Australia. No, I think that that perhaps the second safest place for them is the United States. And what Yahowah ultimately says is the only one place where you're going to be able to survive at all, and that's Israel. That's one of the strange things about all of this is that even though Israel is being attacked and it's going to be rough for Jews and Israel, the reason the Holocaust happened is because there was no Israel.
No. Mm-hmm.
And so Israel is the last bastion of safety from anti-Semitism in the world. And if it fails, then there is no safe place for a Jew, particularly if it's disclosed that they are Jewish. So I know that more people are leaving Israel than are coming into Israel at this point. But God's advice is still to come to Israel. But, the answer is the covenant. It's still to trust. Yes, yada yada is the answer. I would say, I'm just going to hint at this because I don't have the text in front of me to read it. But would you think that among the top 5 would be the one in Yirmeyah 31 that talks about the reaffirmation of and renewal of the covenant with Yisra'el and with Yehudim in the last days? Would you put that in it talks about restoring the covenant with Yisra'el and with Yehudim in the last day and writing the Torah inside of folks? Would you write that or classify that in the top 5 of prophecies?
Pretty important to me. I would think.
Yeah, I don't know, what would rank above it. I mean, I think the prophecy in Devarim 18 is important, but nobody else besides us know that it points to Dowd. I think that the one in Isaiah 9 is important, but no one else knows that it points to Dowd. I think the one in Yesha 11 about the children is important, but nobody else outside of our community knows that who that is. So when you're dealing with it all, what could be more important than the affirmation of the Yahweh's return on behalf of Yisra'el and Yehudim, and confirming and affirming the covenant and writing his Torah inside of his people? Would you say that's certainly up there in the top 5, maybe number 1 of all prophecies? You got anything that you would put above it there, Dr. Jeff?
No, it's that is up there because it's renewal. It's often misinterpreted and understood. It is no such thing as a new covenant. It's the same covenant, and it's
handled
imperative.
a slightly different way. Yeah, handled a slightly different way. Not different than negotiated with Abraham, but slightly different than it was experienced with the children of Israel during the Exodus, when God grabbed them by a firm hand and said, "You're coming screaming and kicking. I don't care. I'm not asking your opinion. I'm not giving you a choice. I have a responsibility. I'm dragging you out of here." He says it's going to be different than that.
Yeah, it is we who have to seek him, shub for shub. We have to seek him.
Right. So Do you know what follows that? I don't think I have ever in all of my time gone by past 31 verses 31, 32, and 33. And when I went into 34, I mistranslated it. Do you know what 34 speaks of? Well, before I ask you what 34 speaks of, you know what the first prophecy is in the Torah? Profound. And it's God goes on, and I think it's 5 statements just on this one prophecy. First prophecy in the Torah. You know what it is?
That's the sun and the moon. Greater and the lesser.
Actually not called the sun and the moon, but it's the
Point.
greater.
Greater and
The sun and
lesser.
moon. The sun and moon are actually not mentioned in it. It's a prophecy about the greater and lesser luminary.
Luminaries.
And
Yes.
and what you have to do is read all of the other Psalms and Isaiah references to it, and Yirmeyah references to it, as it turns out, to know who the greater and lesser luminaries are. But he says the greater and lesser luminaries, they're both great, and they exist as signs. And the word for signs means they exist as volunteers who are willing to do what needs to be done pursuant to the Moedim, which are the 7 annual meetings with Yahweh. They're restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony, Pesach, Matzah, Bakodim, Shabbat, Towrah, Kapporim, and Sukkah. That's the most important prophecy in the opening books of the Torah. It's the first prophecy of the Torah. So this most important prophecy, after it talks about putting the Torah inside of people, of this remnant, it says that at that point, no Jew will be allowed to teach another Jew. The days of Jews teaching Jews is over.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Why? Because what they teach them is the Talmud and politics and everything else wrong. They've corrupted their sons of the 4th and 5th generation. God just says, no way, no how. There will never be again. I mean, not now, not tomorrow, not yesterday. There will never be again allowed a Jew to teach a Jew.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah. Then he says, they're all going to choose to Yahowah.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely. They're going to choose to Yahowah. No
Wow.
Jews talking anymore. So the instruction manual going forward is Yahowah. They will all choose to Yahowah. No Jew will teach another Jew.
Wow.
And then it says that this will be the result of the Katan, who is a odd restoring witness on behalf of the Gadol. It will be because, so no Jew is going to teach another Jew. And yet the whole gathered community is already told, I'm reconciling my relationship with Israel, with Yehudim and with Yisra'el, and there'll be a united Yisrael, and every one of them is going to be now part of my family. I'm going to write my Torah right inside of them. And then he says, no Jew is ever going to teach another Jew from that point, and that all will choose to Yahowah. And then he says, this is going to be because the Katan, as a restoring witness, is going to do this on behalf of the Gadol.
Yeah, that's it.
And
It's you, Craig. It's you.
Absolutely,
it's
on behalf of Dowd.
It's basically
the Katan is the lesser luminary, and the Gadol is the greater luminary.
Yeah.
He just didn't put luminary after it, because he then wrote in the next sentence that the sun is going to be the one who provides light during the day. Now we know that the Gadol is the greater luminary. And he says, then as a function of the choke, which are the prescriptions that cut you into the covenant relationship and authorize a share to you and teach you how to properly live, that those inscribed prescriptions are going to be the tool that the moon uses to restore God's people and to teach God's people. And then he goes on to say that that role is the role of the moon. So he has now defined the Katan, the younger and lesser of the luminaries. And so that's a pretty profound conclusion that here at the beginning, you've got God saying, I'm going to accomplish all of this through these two volunteers, that the greater and lesser luminaries, and they're going to volunteer to fulfill the Moedim, and those two guys fulfill all of them. And then he says at the end, the last days, when he returns to restore the covenant with Yisra'el and write his Torah inside, that no Jew will teach another Jew. It'll all choose to Yahowah, which means that this website we're building is in fact the Yahweh's library for the millennial Shabbat. That's what we're doing it for. And that that it is the Katan as the moon who is going to do this through the inscribed prescriptions to allocate a share of the relationship and inheritance in it. Then, but he's not done. I mean, that would be enough to say, okay, thank you very much. Now I know how all this works out. That's very clear. And now I know what we're supposed to be doing with Yahowah, and why we shouldn't spend any more time really promoting social media to this extent either, because we're not recruiting anybody new. All we're doing now is we need to equip the covenant members we have, to be effective going forward. But God doubles down after that. And it's the most bone-chilling thing I have yet read. And I have finished all my translation. I finished the commentary on it. I just, from that point, I started doing a whole lot of research. And so that's how I got distracted today. God says, if it were not for the choke managed by the moon, playing out exactly as I have articulated it. This plan coming to fore as I have articulated it. And if either of those two men waver, fail, are withdrawn, give up, ask for a timeout, stop in any way, there'll be nothing left of Israel.
Oh, gosh.
There will be literally nothing left of Israel ever again. So the very fate of Israel is based on that first prophecy. The reaffirmation of the covenant is based on that first prophecy. Everything hinges on our willingness to keep going. God says, I'm all in, man. There is no plan B.
Yeah. You don't have the luxury. You do not have the luxury of having a Moshe moment.
Nope.
A Dowd moment.
Nope.
You don't have that luxury. And what you just described, going through Yirmeyah, those prophecies 31 through 34, is basically the death knell, hallelujah, of Judaism emerging and evolving into that wonderful goal we have of Yahudaism.
Yeah, and Christianity as well. And Christianity as well. It's complete destruction of them. And God says, I'm all in with the Gadol and the Katan, these two luminaries who have volunteered to fulfill the Moedim. That's my plan. And if anything that is part of their schedule and appointed events fails to materialize, if at any point they give up, stall, ask for a timeout, it's over. That there'll be nothing left of Israel.
Please don't.
Oh, you read something like that and you say, okay, thanks God, I really needed the added pressure. That's, sheesh.
Put on another pot of coffee.
Well, I got to tell you that what you call Katan is actually Gadol as well, because without the Katan, there is no Gadol, but the Katan is Gadol, because it's like the Etz HaDayeth to the Etz HaChaim.
It's really interesting that first of all, Katan is typically not a very flattering word. It means younger. It is also somebody on a positive side that readily deduces the information that is necessary to prevail. So it's somebody that a receptive mind very quickly deduces and contemplates the information that is needed to succeed. And it's often just translated as younger. That's why I get a kick out of Yahowah every time we talk. He says, okay, young man, because that's what Katan means is young person. And it's chronologically younger because as I've gone back and doubled down to determine, well, how many times has Dowd's soul been deployed? And when was it deployed? And how many times was my soul deployed? And when was it deployed? And what you very quickly realize is that I am younger than Dowd by 600 years. I'm 600 years younger than he is. So it's Katan, clearly, by the opening stanza, because Dowd was born in -6, or conceived by God in -6, Yirmeyah, -6. I think he was 6 years in the garden before being booted out, 6 being the number of man. And of course, Adam doesn't have a name. Right. He's just Adam. He's the man. Mm-hmm. And so that is the reason that Dowd is called the firstborn, the Bakor of Yahowah, is that Yahowah conceived him. He is the first man conceived by God in his image with a Nesama. There are lots of other humans out there, but the first man conceived with a Nesama that had a chance to be able to effectively relate to God was Dowd, which means that he is the firstborn son of God. God conceived him. So now we understand why he's the firstborn. Now we understand why he doesn't have a name. He's just the man, and why he is the Gadol. He's the older one. Although there are multiple times in his life that I serve as a surrogate father and as his real father. Yeah, I'm his father twice. I actually, he is my son of natural birth twice, including the most important of them. We will pursue the prophecies that explain who the mother and father were of the kinsman redeemer when he was conceived to fulfill the Moed Mikre, Pesach Matzah and Bakurim in 33 CE, because he makes it emphatically clear he was born the old-fashioned way. His daddy impregnated his mommy, and his mommy's water broke, and he came forth through natural childbirth, and he suckled on his mother's breast. So he is very clear. And when you read then what Isaiah said about who the mother and father were, oh my, it takes us right back to the same place. And then you read the prophecies and between Ruth and Boaz, and Ruth says, I'm your Amma, I'm your mommy, and I'm going to deliver to you, Boaz, the kinsman redeemer. And you read the book of Ruth, there are 40 bombshells in it that all say, oh, read this, pal, and see if you can't figure out who these people are and what role they play in the future, because it's Ruth and Boaz, who are the Amma and her Baal, her husband. And we are the parents of Dowd. And it even explains now how they came up with the myth of the disciples. They weren't disciples, they were his brothers. We didn't stop at just Dowd. We had a family to support him in all of that. Oh, by the way, one of the things that's really interesting, because that little clique that likes to pretend that they are really smart and gets their jollies about trying to harass me. Their last one was referring to myself as Baal, because the last mashal, the 31st, is clearly the Amma, and the Amma is stated as Ashar, the beautiful and beneficial, productive, and blessed woman. And Baal is used 3 times very, very positively as her husband. Do you know who calls himself Baal in the 31st chapter of Yirmeyah? Guess who calls himself Baal? Was your Baal, he says.
Yahowah says.
Yahowah says. Yahowah calls himself Baal. So if you want to say that Baal is just a derogatory term, then you're swearing at Yahowah, because he says, I was your Baal, and he was proud of it. I was your husband.
Don't we always
Yeah.
say that every Hebrew word has negative and positive, and you have to look at the context?
All do.
wasn't there-
Yep. And when it comes to names of false gods, almost all the time, it's Hasatan without any creativity, just taking, counterfeiting, identity theft, taking what Yahweh had proclaimed as good and twisting it into bad. That's the reason why when Yahweh speaks very favorably of Baal, because it means husband, and the Bereth covenant is very akin to a marriage and family, why Yahweh relishes the term, he uses the term associated with himself, it's meant very positively. But then in the end, you have, or not in the end, but in the middle, you have Satan coveting the title, applying it as Lord, and he develops cults around it. He also then covets Ashar, which we know is also positive. It's one of the names of the 12 tribes, and it means beneficial and productive. And he covets that. He creates a religion around these two terms that Yahweh uses very favorably so that they get a negative connotation. And ElYah even had to go against the prophets of these two because of how Satan had used them negatively. So God doesn't give up on his terms. Just because they were misappropriated by Satan doesn't mean that they're bad terms. Right? So he comes full circle at the end, and he has ElYah speak on behalf of the Ashar and her Baal. It's just God said, no, you're not going to get the best of me, pal. In the end, we're coming right back to how I intended to use them. But, you got to pay attention to the whole story and not, all the little conspiratorialists, they fix there's a point there. I'm gonna trace that point down. I'm not gonna look at anything else but that point. And they get themselves all wrapped up in their underwear and they can't see past it.
They're not bright enough to realize that when you basically have a false, they have things out of context, so they end up creating a false pretext. And in the process, they usurp the true meaning and the actual context of how it was meant to be.
Yes, and that happens a great deal. That's how Paul wrote the Christian New Testament, all the way through. So it is when Israel's looking for help, once again, it's going to be the Amma, Ruth, working through her Baal husband, who is Boaz, who is going to deliver the kinsman redeemer a third time. We saved him from himself and around 1000 BCE, when Dowd fell off the wagon completely fell off the wagon at 56 years of age, and rectified that relationship with Yahweh. So we saved him then from himself. We delivered him so he could fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim in 33 CE, and supported him all the way up through that process, and more than just oral support. I'll tell you that. And then now we're delivering him all over again. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing. We've restored his reputation, restored his name, and made it possible for him to return, and we'll continue to do that all the way through Towrah in 2033. We'll get to deliver him 3 times. God, it's really clear when you read now that you know the clues and how he uses his words and his people, and God's so effective at saying this is my plan, and these are the folks I'm going to work through. It's really obvious when he deploys people over a period of time and how he identifies them so that you can figure out who's who in the story and why, rather than rolling the dice and saying, all right, Noah, for example, I'm just going to hope that I find somebody. God said, I'm grieving. I want to end the whole human experience. He's just saying it's miserable. People are disgusting. I want to end the whole human experience of humans with an Asalma. It's over. And you think that God's going to say, all right, it's going to be over, and I'm going to do nothing other than just end it. But I'm going to put all my eggs in a basket of somebody that I would have had no way of knowing, and he would have had no way of knowing me whatsoever. They'd been, at that point, the one person who had known Yahowah had been Adam Dowd, and he's now dead. And the only person that paid any attention to what Adam Dowd had to say, I met him when he was 8. I met him when I was 8 years old, and I spent 300 years with him. That's how I came to know Yahowah and earned Yahowah's respect, because I took care of his beloved son and was there steadfast as his friend for 300 years. But now I'm gone. So how would Noah come to know Yahowah? There's no way. None. And so you think God's going to go all in? I'm going to save Nasalma man with, count them, 8 people. I'm going to solve Nasalma man, but I'm going to do it with a completely untested soul, somebody that I've never done anything with, and I'm just going to hope it's going to work out.
No way. No way.
So I know who Noah is. Not my first time on a boat. And I came to know who Shem is because the name tells us that, well, God got to know Adam somewhat. It was not a very good experience in the garden. That's where you got to know Dowd. But he's not going from the garden, which turned out to be a failure. You're out of here. I can't trust you. To going in with an 8-year-old boy who hasn't proven anything yet and saying, that's my guy. I'm going to go all in with him. You think that's going to happen if he doesn't have any other experience with Dowd?
No, not anymore.
No.
Exactly.
Shem.
No.
Shem. The name is Dowd.
Dowd. Shem is Dowd.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's one of Dowd's 7 deployments. And so God does not roll the dice. Einstein was right. God does not roll the dice. He finds people along the way. From what I can tell, there's 5 souls. And I'm likely there's others, but I know of 5. And those 5 are deployed multiple times because God says, there's something about that guy or that woman. I just like him. I mean, I think I can work with him. I think I can trust him. You know, he's maybe a lovable rogue. He may be aggressive. He may be harsh. But yeah, I like that stuff. You know, I need a fixer. There's times when we got to get it done. Noah, man, there was no plan B for Noah, man. That was it for Nasalma, man. And the flood wasn't going over the whole earth, but it wiped out all but 8 people with the Nasalma. And it's those people, by the way, that became the breeding stock for guess who? Abraham and Sarah.
Mhm.
They are all the descendants of Noah and his wife, and Shem, particularly through Shem and his wife. And so doesn't the story tell us that Noah and what he did is symbolic of the covenant? Specifically, symbolic of the covenant. It's even an ark, like there's an ark of the covenant.
Ark in his covenant.
That saves life, and it's called that it's a symbolic of the covenant. In fact, that's when the rainbow, the symbol of the covenant, is debuted, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So when was the covenant confirmed?
Dowd.
What year was that?
33 CE.
No. When was the covenant confirmed? 1968 BCE, which was year 2000 Yah, wasn't it?
Yeah, that.
You know what? And that was on Mount Moriah when Abraham and Yishak, his beloved son, went up Mount Moriah to celebrate the Passover. Is what the timing was, and that was when Yahowah spoke to him and says, "You know, you're not going to take the life of your son, whom you love, your only son. I'm going to provide the lamb, which means it's my son, whom I love." And so there you had Dowd representing the lamb, and you had Yahowah, and you had Abraham, and you had Yishak all there. Guess what year? So I've told you that year was 2000 Yah, 1968 BCE. When do you think was Noah's final year? Who do you think he got his last chance to supervise and witness before signing off as captain?
I would say that probably that year, right? Simultaneous.
That is exactly right. That was the year. And it's interesting that his son, from being Enoch, Chanok, Methuselah, the longest lived human, do you know what year that he passed away?
No, I
The
don't.
year of the flood. the year of the flood. And then Noach, the captain of the flood, who is the symbol of the covenant, he lives all the way to the confirmation of the covenant in year 2000, 1968 BCE. When you start seeing things like that, you say, okay, what are the odds that that's a coincidence?
None.
No, none. And so what you finally recognize, and this is what we've been doing, that's why I was 7 minutes late to this program, is that I have come to recognize that souls are extraneous from our frame of reference. What I mean by that is we're a three-dimensional construct. And we understand energy, we understand mass. We don't understand anything outside of energy and mass. And the universe, 95% of it, of the parts that we can perceive, is comprised of something other than energy and mass. And we call them dark. That's 95%. And we have no way of knowing what they are because they exist in dimensions beyond our own. One of the most common things, just like 95% of the universe is comprised of those things, one of the most common things in our universe, in our world, now on our planet here, are souls, consciousness. Do you know that no scientist has ever been able to weigh them or measure them or detect them in any way? All we know is that when an animal is dead, the soul is gone. That's all we know. We have no idea what it is.
How do you
We
measure?
can't weigh. We know it weighs nothing. We've done precise measurements to know it weighs nothing. So it's not mass. And we can't detect any energy from it. So it's not a force of energy. All right. So the soul exists outside of our frame of reference. And yet we know that it's Yahowah saying that he is inviting certain souls to live with him in Shamaim, which is a 7-dimension realm. So souls can be harvested, collected, gathered in by Yahowah, can't they?
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely true. All right. And Yahowah says that your soul is the only part of you that can extend beyond your mortal existence. So your soul is separate from your body, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely separate from your body. Like when this next harvest of Shabbat happens, our bodies remain, they're useless, they're liability, our souls go. In fact, your body isn't worth a dime. Really isn't.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a dime's worth of material in your body. Your body's not worth a dime. Your body is disposable. It's corruptible. It is a huge liability, and it's easily reclamable. God can create a new body, or even man can create a new body, the old-fashioned way. But creating bodies is easy. Making a body is really easy. We don't know what the soul is, but we know the soul is completely independent from the body. So the body, if you're focused on a person being that body, then you're missing everything, because that's immaterial. Bodies are disposable. They're fungible. It's the soul that matters. The soul is the total repository of your personality. It's what makes you so charming, Kevin. It's what makes Kirk so friendly. It is. It makes what Dr. Jeff so bright, and makes you such a great dad. Will, I mean, we have our personality, and our personality is 100% of our personality is in our soul. Our personality, our attributes, our attitudes. So if God is going to deploy a soul that he likes, he's going to choose that soul because that soul has attitudes and attributes that he finds useful and that he thinks he can trust. Trustworthiness would be an attribute of a soul, not a body, a soul. And so for God to say, I like that one, I'm going to pluck that one out and I'm going to put it into somebody else at a time that is suitable for me to accomplish what I want done, so that I don't have to roll the dice. So I don't have to worry about Noah forgetting the plank in that damn ark sinking. Is he going to be diligent enough to listen to what I need to be done? If I tell him to do it this way, will he do it that way? That's what I'm looking for. If I'm going to come up with a song to save my son, to save that relationship that's going to save all mankind, what guy do I pick to do that? If I'm going to have a dad and a mom for my kid when he comes back to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Makodim, do I just say what any old mom and dad will do? Or am I going to be really careful and I'm going to not roll the dice and I'm going to choose somebody that I have worked with in the past that I know I can trust because, well, we've been there and done that. I'm sure we've all had people that we've worked with that just come through every time. I've mentioned my buddy Joe Page. We've been friends for 30 years. And every time I've done anything with Joe Page, it has turned out well. No exceptions. We just are really effective together. It's mostly because he does really good work. And I know what I want, but he makes it happen. So that is the nature of our relationship. I know I can trust it. So if I want to make a website that can serve for the next 1,000 years, who am I going to go to?
Joe.
I want to go to Joe. I mean, how many times did you hear it? I said, Joe's kind of going through a rough patch right now, but I think we can get my buddy. We've been through a lot. We'll get him through this because it's good for him. It's good for us, and yes. We're going to get this done with Joe. We knew that was what's going to happen because I'm not going to roll the dice. I know I can trust him, and look what the results are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. And by the way, once he started doing this, his life just blossomed. He went from, things aren't very good, I'm really unhappy, to, wow, I'm ecstatically happy. Everything in my life is working out beautifully. So this is same exact situation, except God's a whole lot smarter. He doesn't have a lot to pick from, but he finds souls and he just deploys them because it'd be stupid for him to roll the dice when it's important. I'm going to have somebody collaborate with me on the 89th Psalm to save my son who is in a really crappy attitude and funk. Who am I going to pick that I can trust to get him out of that funk? That's not going to take any lip from him. That's just going to come on and boom, 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 boom. Do you know who you are? Let me tell you who you are. Let me show you where you are in this story. Let me show you where you're next in this story. And go on. And he picked somebody to do that. And then, I made a deal with him. I said, I'm not coming unless my wife's coming. I really like her and I like working with her. And you obviously have, if you call her, you actually refer to her as your Amma. So you like her too. So she can be the team here where, she's going to be a little softer. Not a lot softer, by the way, but a little softer anyway.
She's awfully smart.
It's evident, Yada. It's evident that trust is really the cornerstone. Yahowah has to trust us, and he essentially demands that we trust him. And so
correct.
That literally is the foundation of the relationship going forward, because that's how it's going to work best. And so
is why we have decided that outreach is no longer productive. We'll start outreach again in 4 years. When we return and we work as a team supporting the mission of ElYah and I as the final witnesses, and we're going to go all out in favor of Israel 4 years from now. But between now and then, our job is to build trust among one another, to build up our common knowledge so that we can be more useful and productive as teachers, for us to galvanize our relationships and it's not now just Yahowah trusting us and us trusting Yahowah. It's also us trusting one another.
Yes.
So that is where we are. And the present family that is here is the family we're going forward with. We're not soliciting any newcomer because it would be reckless to do so. There isn't enough time left. Even if the Shavua harvest is a year and 3 months from now, as opposed to less than 3 months from now, there is no way that they're getting up to speed. So they actually learn what they need to know, respond, engage, and then trip up and fall and get back up and prove that they're good to go, that they can be trusted with what God has to offer. Because he ain't empowering anybody to 7 dimensions with all the responsibility. When we become 7-dimensional beings, you can talk to something and you can transform it.
Yes.
All right. You could talk to that painting that is Captain Kirk's painting behind you and say, I want that to be my backyard. And you can make it your backyard.
It is.
Yeah. I can say, I like the coast that you painted there, Kirk, instead of the one I'm looking at over here. Get that tree. I want that same tree, and I want it right here on this coast. But I just want the color and the warmth of the water that we've got here and a nice sandy beach. But that's what I want. And you can talk it into existence.
Wow.
So under those circumstances, the last thing we want God wants to do is to take somebody in that would talk and do something inappropriate with a black hole, for example, or a quasar, or a supernova. He's not going to trust anybody in the seventh dimension for all time unless you've shown that you're observant, you're thoughtful, you're responsive, you're reliable, and that you trust him and he can trust you. And that is the story that is being broadcast on all channels through these people, is you need to be trustworthy. And I was considering today Dowd's father-in-law, not Dowd's, but Moshe's father-in-law, Yithro. And he is, first he befriends Moshe. When Moshe was running for his life, he took him in, gave him his daughter, Zipporah, and some sheep, and said, your home is my home. While you're here, you're with me. And it was wonderful to him. And then when Moshe came back after multiple meltdowns, both with the children of Israel and with Moshe too. Moshe had a meltdown long before the plagues even began, telling God, you don't know what you're doing. You're a complete failure. You told me that you were going to bring these people out of here, and so far you've done nothing, and all you've done is make their lives worse. It's probably not a very good start to the relationship. And it wasn't very long after that, God says, I'd just as soon kill you as I would to have you go forward. And it was Sapphira that stepped in and said, you idiot, it's because your son's not circumcised. Would you please? Well, you won't take care of it. I'll do it. So Moshe didn't start off very well, and he didn't end very well. And he wasn't really all that great in between. But it was interesting that when Yithro saw Moshe again, came back to Towrah. God said, one of the miracles I'm going to have is that when you come out of Egypt, you're going to come right back to this mountain. This is where we're going to have our powwow. And probably didn't use the term powwow, but none of the rest of it's true. And so he met with his father-in-law again, and his father-in-law said, I've been watching you. Yeah, you're doing this all wrong. Father-in-law took a executive managerial approach. He says, what you're doing is you're spending all day and all night listening to every little thing, that's every little argument that these people have. You can't be productive doing that. This is nonsense. He says, let me tell you how this works. You do the big stuff. Listen to Yahowah. Tell the people what Yahowah wants them to know. And you handle the big stuff, okay? You're with the big guy. We'll take care of the little stuff. You don't sweat it. We will have this org chart here, and we're going to have a team of people. And the team of people are going to be responsible for teaching, communicating, resolving disputes. They're going to be in charge. And you just deal with the big guy, all right? That's a big job, by the way. And we'll take care of the rest. What he's talking about, and Moshe, by the way, agreed and did it. He's talking about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're doing here. Except there's two Gadols. In our situation here, it's split between two, because Dowd is the older guy, even though I'm his dad, and I'm the younger one. But that's basically it. And you guys are the team. That's precisely what was set up in the Torah. That's God's not changing his plan. That's the plan. So yes, we are proving that we're trustworthy as a group, that we can trust Yahowah, Yahowah can trust us, and we can trust one another.
I was going to say, it seems like go with what and who you know, and you will continue to grow.
Yes, that is a Jeffism, and it's absolutely true. We're going to grow and cause others to grow. And when God says, you know, the good news about that prophecy that I shared with you at the beginning of the program is that it's there's a little more to it than what I actually shared with you, and that is that it doesn't end open-ended. First of all, Yahowah has a dare. The next statement is actually a dare, and the next statement, what God says in effect is, if you're so smart, men, Jews, that you can actually calibrate the size, the composition, and this orientation, as well as the dimensionality of the universe, and even figure out and be able to explore the dimensionality of the material realm as it retreats the other way. You can figure all that out. Then I'll leave it all to you. Then you be responsible for yourself. I'll just back away. And the world is all yours. He says, oh, by the way, either way, Israel's gone because I know what they have done. But he says that's his dare. So if you think you're so smart, you got it all figured out, then I'll leave it to you. If I leave it to you, Israel's done that way too. But he doesn't leave you hanging at that, which I thought was really an interesting dare. You know, we think we're so smart, we don't need God anymore. We understand how the universe was created. But, you know, we have no idea what the edge of the universe is. We can't see past 14 billion years because it's expanding away from us. We try to measure it. And the moment you measure it, you realize it's no longer that size anymore. And it wasn't that size before you even planned to measure it. And we use all sorts of odd quark confinement temperatures to determine its age. And we really don't know. The temperature of quark confinement could be off by a huge factor. We don't know any of this stuff. And we don't know what 95% of the composition is, and we know that the universe is equally sized in its dimensions at every point in the universe, which means there's no origin of the universe, and there's no center of the universe. There's no frame of reference for the universe. And the universe is retreating inwardly as fast as it goes outwardly because, you know, you've got molecules and atoms, and then protons, electrons, neutrons, and then you've got hadrons and quarks and leptons, and on it goes down just as it went up in size. You know, from planets to solar systems to galaxies to clusters of galaxies. It's the same scale up and down. He says, so if you can explore that and figure it out, you don't need me. I'll back off. And for Israel, it's going to turn out the same way, but you're on your own. And he says, but let me tell you how it all ends up. He says, I'm going to give you a map of Jerusalem. Use the four corners. And I'm going to do a little urban renewal in those four corners. And I'm going to establish a new Jerusalem. And it's a beautiful story as he goes through and says, this is what I'm going to do. And so if he's going to create a new Jerusalem, guess what? We don't give up.
Yeah.
Now, there's times when we've thought about it, I'll tell you. But no, we don't give up. And you know, one of the reasons we don't give up, because we have a team, we can trust one another. Because we look at what we're producing and say, you know, those Do You Yada ads are great. The songs are wonderful. The visuals behind the songs are wonderful. The invites that we're producing are wonderful. The website's wonderful. The translations are great. I mean, it just, our outreach has been excellent. We've grown tremendously in social media. We just reached a point now where it's time to focus on who we are and what is being asked of us.
You know, Craig, we have to be chazak, but more importantly, without being perfect or pretty all the time, we've got to finish. We've got to finish it off. Get the job done.
That is the thing that God's most interested in. It doesn't have to be pretty, but we got to finish. And the prettier we can make it, the cleaner, more professional, the more credible the Yahowah site is, these programs supporting it, the more rational our argument is in favor of what God is trying to achieve, and compelling our argument is for Yisra'el, because this is going to play to Yisra'el over those 3.5 years that we're gone, and they need to hear it and be in a position to respond. So our commitment is to finish the job, to leave as excellent and as a legacy that we're proud of, that God can be proud of, and said, yeah, you guys did exactly. In fact, you did better than what I expected. Nicely done. You know, for a bunch of amateurs, that's pretty darn good work. And no, yeah, he's going to be sarcastic as all get out. That's who he is. In fact, you read the book of Ruth, and the entire thing is God is absolutely doubled over laughing. He says, I can't wait for them to figure this one out. I've left 40 clues. And he's just got to be just absolutely beside himself, double over with how obvious they were. And yet no one figured them out. But I think that he is going to be quite pleased with what we have done, and that we're going to have 3.5 years to improve it. And then we're going to get to redeploy, and we're going to finish that job. And then we have 1,000 years. I think the pace of that 1,000 years is going to be a lot different, though, even though God's made it really clear that what we're going to be doing, how we're going to work together, we have to still be effective as a team. And I think we'll be a very well-oiled machine by that time. I just think the pace will be a lot more relaxing. We'll have more time just to go off into a beautiful sunset and walk on a calm beach and enjoy picnics and rainbows and all sorts of things. So I do think there's going to be a little more quiet in addition to the noise.
Now, let me just say one thing. If we run off and play golf during these periods,
Yes.
you can't use that thing where you make the ball go in the hole. You got to put it in normal.
I got to put it in normal. Yes, of course. When we go play golf,
but we still got to play it right.
Yeah, when we go play golf, I'm gonna change to the physique of Tiger Woods. So you know, I may cheat on you one way or another, there, pal. Yeah, you know, the funny thing is about doing things that are fun, you know, like scuba diving or playing golf or you know, going for a walk on the beach. There will be things that we will do, just normal stuff, just to enjoy the pace of. It's a beautiful planet that's going to be restored to a lovely condition. We're going to be with our best friends, family, and we're going to know that our God loves us and that we have done our job, and that he wants us to enjoy the results of it. And so I think there'll be lots of just really straightforward things like golf is an elegant game, and you know, I'm sure we're going to have fun playing it from time to time. And imagine having a golf course that blends the best of Pebble Beach, Cypress Point, you know, Pine Valley, Augusta, you know, some of each of those into one golf course, Old Head. You know, I think it could be pretty spectacular.
And caddies.
Yeah, and caddies. And
I would used to be one. I'd like somebody to be mine.
Yeah, absolutely. For a walk in the park, I think it's. But I do think I know that at the end of my day, and at the end of watching these educational programs, so that I can speak fluently about what's happening around the world and give some thoughts on these things, that when I'm finally done for the day, my thoughts very often go to a more enjoyable pace and enjoying the more beautiful places of this earth, hugely depopulated, no religion, no anti-Semitism, no antagonism, but just some of these beautiful places, and to be able to go back there and share it with loved ones. And you know, I loved Yosemite Valley, the Carmel Coast where you live. There's so many lovely places. The game reserves of Eastern Africa and Tanzania and the Serengeti and Ngorongoro. I'm looking forward to, you know, having the ability to do that. Yeah, having a boat again, and having, you know, toys like sailboats and beach landers and, you know, picnics on the beach. I just, that's part of where my mind goes and says, you know, I think we will have earned a vacation, and God's quite clear. He says, you're inheriting the wealth of your enemies. Well, our enemies have a lot of money. So we're going to, inherit some nice toys for this 1,000 years. And, at the end of the 1,000 years, it's a reset. But 1,000 years is a long time to enjoy some of this stuff. And I just think we will. I think we'll have islands that are just ours and beautiful places to go. And so, yeah, that's part of what I think about. I do think that we will have earned the enjoyment of having time off in some beautiful places. I don't know what you all think about that, or if you think that's even appropriate. And I, I'm not claiming I'm right. But it's certainly something that reading God's testimony, it's what I anticipate him wanting for us.
Yeah. The common denominator in everything that you listed is places with no people. Yosemite, not a lot of people.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the entire Earth's going to be really nice.
It is.
with
It is
a lot less people. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And we're all going to work towards being introverts. It's
no problem.
no problem. I just think that we're, an introvert is not uncomfortable around people. They're comfortable around their people.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't want to be around a lot of people unless it's their people and there's a lot of similarity and energy because, well, we share things in common. So I like that idea. And I've also learned that seeing a beautiful rainbow or a magnificent sunset or Yosemite Valley, when you're by yourself, is not as nice as it is when you're with somebody you love being with. And I can tell you that if you're with somebody you don't enjoy being with, it's not as fun. So there, the 1, 2, 3. Somebody you don't want to be with, it's not so much fun. Somebody, if you're by yourself, it's okay. Yeah, it's nice. And if you're with somebody you really love, sharing something that is beautiful is magnificent. And so I think we're going to be on the magnificent scale and not have to deal with the bottom of the scale at all, and choose if you want to go off and be on your own occasionally, which I think we will all do some of that, then you'll be able to do it.
It's the wonderful
claiming. I was going to say Yada's claiming Yosemite, so
yeah, I know.
Back off.
Well, it's a big valley. I'd be happy to share with the Covenant family some lovely places there. We can. But
come on down to the Crag Ranch.
Yeah. There may be an island or two that I end up claiming, or a boat, but I don't think we're really going to have to do a lot of picking. I get buggy. I get a pick. Dowd gets first pick. I get second pick. You get third pick. I don't think it's going to be that way because I think there's going to be so much, and we all have slightly different tastes.
Yeah.
There's things that everybody likes more than somebody else likes, and when you're dealing with places, I've said I really like the Serengeti and Ngorongoro and the Masai Mara, where the flamingos are, and the cheetahs live in trees, and it just it's something mesmerizing about those places. They're really big places, and they're not nearly as fun unless you're in one of those camps and there's other people there. So, who wants it all by themselves? That's something that's much more fun to do as a group. And, camping out.
Craig and fellas, you add that the wonderful locations to the smorgasbord of 4 with friends, food, family, and love.
Mm-hmm.
We got it going on.
We got it going on.
And
and
I'd like to amend something I said. I said want to get the job done and finish, but I will say that thanks to ElYah et al. And everybody on the team, it actually is getting a lot prettier, and it's becoming magnificent. And with so I stand corrected there.
Yes, it is. Things are really becoming beautiful in terms of the website and the materials that ElYah and branding are putting out, and the team. And there's some renewed souls as part of that. Leah was talking today at lunch with about Matt, Matt with cats, and how he has just blossomed, and that is a restored soul, if there ever was one. It's a soul that has gone through a lot of tough times, and yet look what he's doing now and making a contribution. And his whole outreach, I think I can speak for him. He says, if I can do it, you can do it too. Because, he was really in a rough way, and look where he is now. So there's a lot of inspiration. In fact, Jeff, you were in a rough way a few years back. So, I've known you at the top of your game, at the bottom of your game, and about now at the top again. And so it's this is what Yah was looking for. What he is looking for is somebody who's made a difference, who has achieved, who's made a contribution, who has stumbled and fallen, and yet got back up and demonstrated they could be trusted. And you did that.
Well, it seems like Yah likes those of us who can take a punch.
Yes, absolutely. Because he can, because he has taken a lot of them from us.
Oh, yeah.
But
a lot of them. And you just took a punch there, Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here you are still smiling, pal.
Well, ain't nobody crying over there. Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's going to get better. Promise.
Yeah.
It's going to get better.
If I start to scream, just hit the mute button.
Say yes to drugs, huh?
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. That's the problem with our Brutus kind of medicine, is that the treatment for cancer can be worse than the cancer, particularly if it's a slow growing kind of cancer like prostate cancer. The treatment for it is actually worse than the disease. The fact that there are people that make a living by treating it means that they're going to treat it. So if you show up on their doorstep, they're going to treat it. But
we have a plan.
As we talked about, you and I going all the way back, I said, Kirk, almost all men are going to die with prostate cancer, and almost no men are going to die of prostate cancer. And so your prognosis is 99% if you're not treated. It may be 99.5% if you are treated, but is the treatment worth it?
I'm just looking for the right month to quit.
Yeah. So, but demonstrating that you can take a punch and still smile.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Look whom I'm around. Look at what I get to read every day. Look at this site, and people give me way too much credit for nothing. I just show up and go, wow.
No, Kirk, you're eternal, brother. You're eternal.
Kirk, you have a personality that is infectious. We've gone through ups and downs over the years. I've had people that have pretended to be genuine who have become really rotten and caustic and abysmal. And people all hated you because you were just so genuine. You were everything they weren't. And you can tell the people that demean you are the people who have miserable lives, that have nothing going for themselves, and all they can do is try to degrade others. You're the person that irritated them. No, they hate me, but you're the person that irritated them because they could never be you. They could never understand how somebody could be just genuinely nice, just and genuine. You're the real deal. You haven't changed one iota.
The same way.
I view Sylvia slightly different than you. It's just like Dr. Jeff, I have known for 20 plus years, and I've known you, Kirk, for 20 plus years. Neither of you have changed at all in that period of time. Your personalities, your intellect, what we talked about, our souls, our attributes and attitudes are what they are. We collect in terms of our attitudes and attributes, and we are exactly the same with one another now as we were 20 years ago and 25 years ago. And I don't think you've changed it at all. And I think that's a good thing. You're a genuine, supportive, loving friend. And you're inquisitive. You love learning. You love Yahowah, and you love sharing what you have learned. and you're always willing to engage and make a contribution. Oh, look at this picture that's behind me. This the old tree and the sea. It's so symbolic of who we are and what we're doing, and yet it's frames the backdrop for the show. Yeah, the Sylvia, I think, is different. Sylvia has more of a bite. She is, and I say that very positively. I mean, I think the world of Sylvia. And one of the things I really respect in her is she's got backbone. She will tell you exactly what she thinks, and she's not worried at all about sugarcoating it. And I just think that is remarkable in a woman. She is no nonsense and total character, very judgy. And again, I think that somebody who is very judgmental is somebody who is right, who somebody has character, somebody who knows the difference between right and wrong. She does. I mean, that woman's a keeper.
I think so.
I have never seen anything from Sylvia that said, that I would question everything I see. Everything I see and hear from her, I'd say, that's Sylvia. I would not want to cross her. I'll tell you that. I sparred with her only once. I sparred with her once. Happening over this. It happens to be over this picture, and she absolutely trounced me. And
Wow.
And so I just acquiesced and said, so the picture is going to be sitting in my office, and here it is sitting in my office because she won, and so you got to respect that.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, she's cool. Absolutely. Well, we have like 10 minutes to go for our 2 hours, and I'd be remiss if we didn't at least share something from the 89th Mizmowr. So if you all don't mind, we'll talk a little bit about the 89th Mizmowr before we close.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to begin by saying that according to my unwavering love. Now, this is Yahowah speaking. When we get to the 89th Mizmowr, the first 18 statements, all but 2 of them are in the voice of Ethan Hazraki, who knows Yahowah very well and is saying many things about Yahowah and his long lives with Yahowah, and how it's all going to turn out in the end on behalf of what he's going to contribute, because he takes out Rahab. And then then Yahowah has 2 statements about his son. He just says his son is his co-worker. He's the one through whom he has created the covenant. The covenant was literally created with Dowd. And he says he's my chosen one. So he makes some statements about Dowd that just end the argument. There's nobody else. Can be no Jesus. There can be no Bar Kokhba. There's no religious opportunity. It's Yahowah and Dowd, and that's it. Then after Hazraki has hung him up and said, all right, in the end, I know my job. I take out Rahab, who is this Satan character that is Donald Trump today. So I got that to look forward to. He begins what is something in the range of 30 straight statements that are all in Yahowah's voice. And this is one of them. He says, accordingly, my unrelenting love, my enduring devotion, my unmitigated favoritism and affection, even generosity, I will never remove or withdraw from being with him. So what are the odds that he gave up on Dowd and went to Jesus?
0.
I will never withdraw or remove from him. This was actually written in the Hiphil imperfect. The Hiphil makes the subject, which is Dowd, a participant in the action, such that he is an understudy to Yahowah. And the imperfect conjugation means it's ongoing. There is no end to this. This is action that just continues over time. Because I will never communicate something which is not true, nor will I ever contradict myself. Now, what that means is there can be no New Testament, because the entire New Testament contradicts Yahowah's testimony. From beginning to end. Every time that Paul quotes God, he misquotes him, and he derives the absolute opposite of the intent that God conveyed. He's calling God a liar the entire time. And so you can't have a Talmud either. There's no religious wiggle room with this. God says, I will never contradict myself, which means there can be no Quran. Quran is contradictory from beginning to end. Then he says, my steadfast commitment to the truth is directed at Dowd. I will never dishonor or betray, nor will I poke holes in Barathani, my covenant family. I will never defile, treat as if it were common or not uniquely special. I will never hold in contempt. I will never sully. I will never desecrate. I will never perforate. I will never create loopholes. I will never violate the nature of. I will not betray my covenant relationship. In other words, that covenant relationship, there was Leah, obviously, that just walked by. That covenant relationship that was conceived and presented so long ago, first modeled with Noach, and then narrated with Abraham, and then articulated through Moshe, and quantified through Moshe, and then enabled through Dowd. Same covenant all the way through, and the one fulfilled as we began this program, as explained through Yirmeyah, Jeremiah 31, when it's renewed with Yisra'el, with the Torah being written inside of us, which means if the Torah is written inside of us, there's no room for an oral Torah or a Talmud. There's no room for a New Testament. There's no room for a Quran. It's the Torah, period.
Just follow the script.
Follow the script. I will never dishonor, betray, or poke holes in my covenant, nor will I ever alter, disguise, or change what has gone forth from my lips. You know, I wrote 5 books on Twistianity, is to say the entire New Testament is trying to change what God said, including everything that he writes here in the 89th Mizmowr. It's all changed. And so the religion has a 0% chance of being genuine. And the same thing's true with the Talmud. The same thing is true with the Zohar. Same thing is true with the Quran. And I've written books, another 13 books on those things. So God says, I'm not changing. I've got my plan. I've got my covenant. I got my guy. I'm not changing my guy. I'm not changing my covenant. I'm not changing my plan. I'm not changing my word. If you don't like what I have to say and what I'm offering, then go away. I'm not changing it for you. So many people say, well, I think that God ought to, or, my God would, or, why don't you explain it to me in a way that I can understand? And God says, no, I've explained it to you. These are my rules if you want to be part of my family. These are the benefits that I'm committed to delivering. This is the people I'm going to deliver it with. This is what I've said about it. And none of that is ever going to be annulled. It's never going to be changed. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. So since never is a pretty long time, we can be assured that Yahweh's unwavering love, his devotion, his loyalty, his favoritism will remain steadfastly and wholeheartedly directed towards Dowd. And while this does not exclude God loving others, of course, they cannot supersede or replace Dowd. Therefore, God could not have been talking about the mythical Jesus when he said this of his son. There's no transference here. In fact, Yahweh just wrote the law of non-transference. This would be the law of non-transference. No replacement foolology here. Yahweh has already made many irrevocable declarations regarding Dowd, and none of them can be rescinded or transferred to someone else. Now, these include calling Dowd Bakor, my firstborn, ElYah, all things pertaining to the influence of God, Ebed, co-worker, Zeroah, sacrificial lamb, Messiah, the one who has been anointed. And the fact is that He is steadfastly committed to the truth and will never contradict himself. So there's no room for a New Testament. There's no possibility of a Talmud. Killing Christianity and Judaism thrice over, there is only one covenant, and God isn't going to betray his family. And Yahweh's on record emphatically stating that he will not sponsor a new one. There will be no replacements. There's no duplicates. There's no alterations. None. Yahweh is completely opposed to any rearrangements or modifications to his Barah. You know, rabbis can talk all they want to about what the covenant means to them and how it's part of Judaism. You know, I've heard all sorts of people say you can't be in the covenant unless you are Jewish. No.
That's how you keep out of the covenant.
Yeah. Nope, that's not what it says. He doesn't say there's a Torah for Jews and a Torah for non-Jews. There's one Torah for all of us.
Torah.
One Passover for all of us. Now, some qualifications you have to meet to take part of them, but there's only one of them. So you can accept it, you can reject it, you can ignore it. Those are your choices. But one cannot change it, like Paul tried to do, or replace it, as Christians do. That is not an option. So this...
Greg, you know, the instructions, the guidance, the teaching are black and white if you want to be right. And as you go on, as your wonderful podcast yesterday illuminated, even the term Mashach with Yah's Shemesh, his special oil.
Yes.
All right. That blows away some unknown Messiah who's going to come as a mighty warrior or some mythical fake Jesus who played in the Ardennes.
Yes.
Give me a break.
Flashed around in the Ardennes. God says, no, with my special set apart oil, I anointed him.
That's right.
No, there's no replacing that. There is no substitution here. You know, all those people who have claimed over the years that they are a Messiah. No, you're not. And Jesus didn't even exist, so he is not. And Bar Kokhba most certainly is not. So it's Dowd or nothing for you. According to God, I guess you could make your God a liar if you want to. I think that's a very poor call. So this next assessment, it is a natural extension of those that come before. But nevertheless, it remains one of the most jarring pronouncements ever shared by God. And most of you know what's coming because it is such a poof. It's God punching the religious square in the nose and saying, well, how do you like that one? Why don't you deal with this one? You know, you don't ever hear a pastor preaching from the 89th Psalm, ever, or Jews explaining it because it's devastating to both religion. Well, this is so stunning that words are inadequate to express the level of the Almighty's frustration with the religious. It reads, Echad. You're familiar with the term Echad there, Dr. Jeff?
One.
One. Yes, Solomentary one. Yahweh is one. Well, this is Echad. There is only one. Only one to whom I have affirmed the truth by having made a promise, Sheba. And by my Kodesh Ani, my uniquely set apart nature. If not to Dowd, I am shown to be a liar and a disappointment.
That ain't going
I am shown to be a liar and a disappointment. Kazab. I have communicated that which is not true. I will have failed by having been deceptive and false, and in the end will have become futile, inept, and delusional. Peeled and perfect, first person singular. Mizmowr, Psalm 89:35. God's saying, I've gone all in with Dowd. I've told you Dowd is my son. He is the one that enabled the benefits of the covenant, which means that he is our savior because the benefits of the covenant are delivered through the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim, which means Dowd had to fulfill them in 33 CE. He's saying Dowd is my firstborn. He is the Messiah. He is my chosen one. He is the most important person in the world. And God's saying, if everything I've said about him isn't true and doesn't materialize going forward, then I'm shown to be a liar. And I will have failed. So God is all in with Dowd. He says if, for example, if this psalm right here didn't resolve the falling out that he had at the present moment with Dowd. So he is saying this at the time that he and Dowd are not even talking. And he is writing this collaboratively with Ethan Hajj Rocky. And knowing that Ethan is going to deliver it to Dowd, and he's worked with Ethan a lot of times in the past. And so he's saying right now, if I fail through Dowd, then you can call me a liar, and you will know that I'm a failure. I'm a disappointment because I couldn't get it done. And that's hard for people to process.
Yah always gets it done, and he basically just told the Abrahamic religions, game, set, match.
Yeah, but there's something more subtle even in that. What Yahweh is saying is that I have chosen to work with certain people. And I trust these people sufficiently that I'm telling you who they are and what I'm going to do through them. And I'm so confident in that I'll put it all on the line, that if we don't succeed together collaboratively, fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim, for example, with Dowd, the return with Dowd on Yom Kippurim, if we don't deliver, I will have failed. He has no intent on failing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Yada. You can almost see Yahweh in this 35th verse just pushing all the chips just right to the center of the table.
Yeah,
right?
all in. I'm all in with this.
I'm all in. Either we go this way or we don't go.
We don't go. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is all in, and he's not bluffing. In this case, he has a royal flush, and his royal flush is ace high, and he's going all in. He says, "I'm holding the cards. I know what the cards say. In fact, and a royal flush should be 5 cards. I've got 5 people that I use in this process. I know who those 5 are. I know who my ace is. I know who my king is. You know, I know who my joker is. I know who my team. Yeah, it's just funny. His joker, of course, would be ElYah. His queen would be our Amma, Ms. Leah. His king is Dowd, and his ace, his fixer that he keeps on sending in, that's Yada. So you know he's and then the 10 are speaking of the team that he's going to deploy to get all of this done. And so he says, I'm looking at my cards here. I know what my cards say. I'm going all in. Here. You want to play? Want to think I'm bluffing? Want to challenge me? Want to call me a liar or a bluffer here? This is your opportunity. See how it measures up. That's exactly what he's doing. That's a beautiful metaphor. He's going in, going all in, and he's not gambling.
No.
And the reason he's not gambling is, to use another metaphor, he's not rolling the dice with the universe.
No.
He's everybody that is part of making this happen, because Dowd doesn't operate alone. Dowd doesn't earn Yahweh's trust to even being delivered to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim without the intervention that's taking place here. And Dowd doesn't have the wherewithal to get through that next life without a loving mother and father. And the reason he didn't have a loving mother and father and got himself in this mess in this life is because he didn't know his mother and father. And his father was awful, and his mother was awful too. And so he ended up representing Yisra'el. And he was as angry and embittered against God as Israel became. But what Yahweh proved with him is that set straight, get his mind right, get him returned, that he was not only salvageable, he could redeem all of Israel. So Dowd becomes the exemplar for what God's trying to do with Israel. He says, I know this guy. I've worked with him before, and I know who's going to support him to get this job done, and I know I can trust them. I have a family around him that's going to make this happen, and it's going to work. And so I know exactly what my cards say. You want to bet against me, world? Go ahead with your religion. See if I care. I'm not looking for a big crowd. Maybe I want to, beach in an island on my own. I'm not looking for a big crowd. I'm not trying to save everybody. He just wants some people he can trust, that he can hang with, that he can enjoy, that he can go explore places with, and know that they're not going to do something stupid, and that they're going to be net contributors to the experience. They're going to add something to it. That's what he's looking for. And he says, I know who my players are. I've got my cards right here, and I know we're going to prevail. So I'm all in. You want to call me a liar? Want to call my bluff? That's what Christianity did. They called God a liar. They called his bluff. And he laid down a royal flush. Goodbye. That is the story here. If you're religious, you're betting against God. And he takes risks. I mean, God takes risks. He's working through people. That's why he keeps on saying, if they don't perform, if they give up, if I pick the wrong team and that team fails me, then it's all over. I don't think they will. And of course, part of it is that when you get towards the end, now, because he's got so much on the line, he's got 7 spirits churning away, so that, every day, 5 times a day, I say, oh my God, how that is spectacular. What a great insight. Can't wait to learn more about that, prove it, translate everything around it, exercise my, full capacity to be perceptive, and then share what I learn. And he's doing this now at a prodigious pace. So, he has definitely lubricated the wheels of this machine. We're in full roar in this locomotive going down the tracks. You'd be real foolish to step in front of it. But we're not trying to get anybody's way. We're not trying to run over anybody. We're just cutting a line in the sand and the line in time, a line in space, and say, be on this side, be on the other side. Your call. Just get off the damn tracks. One way or the other. Take your pick. And with God holding all the cards and saying, I'm all in. Isn't that a beautiful picture? I love that, Will.
Yeah.
Think he's pretty confident?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's remarkable the amount of trust that he has in this team and in this family.
It is.
He's Dowd talks about bragging about Yahweh. He's almost bragging about us.
He is bragging about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Yeah.
Because Dowd doesn't work without us.
Yeah.
Because first of all, he would never shown up for Pesach, Matzah, and Mekutim. He could not have fulfilled them. But even if he had fulfilled them, no one would know about it.
That's right.
For the last 2,500 years, no one knew he did it. And so what's the difference between doing it, no one knowing about it, and not doing it at all? There is zero difference. And so it is a losing hand. You might as well just fold if we don't enter the fray and say, no, it's Dowd. He did this. He's the returning king. He's the savior. He's the one who was crucified in 33. There is no Jesus. There is no Bar Kokhba was a crappy choice. You ought to have paid attention to what God said. This is what God said. This is who our savior is. This is who the Son of God is. This is who the Messiah is. This is who the chosen one is. It's Dowd. And so had we not done that, and by the way, this is Yahweh's name. God's name is Yahowah, and this is how it's pronounced. This is why it's important. These are the terms and conditions of his covenant. This is the intent of each of his 7 Moed Mikre, and there's no other meeting times with God. There's no other way to him other than these 7 Moed Mikre, and this is the timeline that they have been and will be fulfilled. This is how much time you have left. This is going to happen between now and then. Had that not occurred, doesn't matter that he's holding a royal flush. So he is indeed bragging about us. He's I think God's tickled pink that I don't know if pink's the right color, tickled blue maybe. He's really pleased. I look at us and say we're all rough around the edges, but Kirk says, yeah, look at us, we're all a little rough around the edges, but that's the way God likes it.
That's the way he likes
Right?
it. That's the way he likes it.
Yeah, that's the way he likes it. He's not looking for perfect. In fact, he would cringe at the idea of perfect. It's just so ElYah to deal with perfection, and it leaves nothing to prove, nothing to grow, nothing of interest. That's what he's looking for. People show up every day, make a contribution every day, show that they're reliable.
Grow and glow, and do it again.
Yep. I'm holding the cards. I know who my ace is, who my king is, who my queen is, who my joker is, and who the 10 are. I know who these people are. I know what my cards represent. Let me lay them down for you. I'll just put them all out right there. There they are. Which one of those are you going to pick on? I think not. And by the way, if you want to look at 10, why 8, even in that metaphor, it's we know the 8 of Shabuah and Towrah and Kippurim. We know the 8 aboard the ark. We know the 8 days of Sukkah. But there's a couple of guys that are still beyond those 8. Yeah, that he's. I think that of the 5 that he has reused, 3 of them are among that group. But we have Dowd in addition to that. We have ElYah in addition to that. And we have Moshe, who is likely to come back in some form. But and you could say, all right, but wait a minute, you already had Dowd as the king. So, who's the other 2? Make it ElYah and Moshe. I mean, we're not going to, Yahweh's not going to write the Torah inside of us and not allow the man who actually scribed it to be there to recite it. It wouldn't be Yah's style, right?
No.
So Moshe is going to come back and celebrate it. And ElYah is going to be the joker. He is, when we sit around the fires, we're going to listen to music. Some will be by Dowd, some will be by ElYah. And we sit around the fire. The guy that's going to still be the master of ceremony and keep us in stitches, it's ElYah. In fact, we have figured out that ElYah's first go at this was not as ElYah. He was Samson. Personality is identical. Same approach, same gift of gab, same right in your face, bull, I'll take nothing from anybody attitude. It's Samson.
Yeah.
And Moshe's, Moshe's last go was not as Moshe. His last go prior to being this was as what was the name? Slipped my mind.
Gideon.
Yeah, he's Gideon. Yes. Mm-hmm. Gideon, I need signs. Oh, that's not enough. Give me another sign. And we talk some more about this. I'm not sure I can do it. I am not the right guy for this job. No, can you find somebody else? How about another sign?
I need some glasses.
Yeah, I need some. Come on. No, I don't want to go do that. No, you sure? Okay. We're going to bring it down with lanterns and horns, huh? Sure. And oh, by the way, all the people we bring down, now that we've done this, I'm just going to go wipe them out. It's Moshe. Samson is ElYah. Personalities don't change. So when you're looking at characters, all you look at is the personality, the aptitudes, the attitudes, the style. And these people are consistent all the way through the process. And that's why God didn't go all in with Moshe. And when he met with him on Towrah, when he said Moshe, Moshe, it was Moshe because there was a Moshe before Moshe. You know who the Moshe was before Moshe? Same exact personality, same approach, same place even. Yosef. You know what Yosef's names mean? I'll do it again. His name means I'll do it again. So, as I say, God does not roll the dice. There's no important aspect of his play from beginning to end where there was an important role, and that important role was played by somebody that was critical, a role where they really had to perform if he did not know them previously and work with them previously. You might say, well, what about Abraham and Sarah? That actually wasn't an important role. They didn't do squat. They really didn't. God laid out the narrative. They were slow on the uptake. They kind of went along with it. There was no intelligent summation of it. There was no, I don't think it was a single point where they said, oh yeah, now this is what God said. This is what it means to us. This is the implications going forward. No, they were always a step behind. And so it was just someone to narrate it through. And you look at Yishak, there's nothing really special that happened during his life. You look at Jacob and suppressing your brother Esau. And he had all sorts of trials and tribulations. There's really nothing pretty or spectacular of his life. And the 12 sons of Israel, they really start off rough. There's only one of them that has an exemplary life, and that's the one that got, I'll do him again, Joseph, who was in, of all places, Mitzrayim.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an important role like Noach, you had to save Nasalma man. That's a retread. It's Ethan Hazraki. I got to save Dowd from himself. That's a retread. There was serious problems at the time of Gideon. That's a retread. And so that's what God has done all the way along. ElYah with Samson. Yeah, he'd been through the ringer before. He had performed exactly the same way. So God's pretty consistent. He's found the team that he can trust and rely on. He's used them at all the critical junctures. And so he's hedged his bets, if you will. And now he's playing with a royal flush and gone all in. And he's smiling from ear to ear because look what he did with the talent that he had to work with.
Well, they had a lot of practice.
Yeah, we've had a lot of practice. We've been down this road before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, we've had a lot of practice. We've
Preseason game.
we have a lot of preseason games to get up to speed. This is a lot like Major League Baseball. You play a full season. You play 3 times more games than they have, or at least twice, maybe 3 times more games than they have in the entire NFL schedule as preseason games. This is kind of like Major League Baseball.
It's playoff time, gentlemen and Leah. It's playoff time.
Playoff time. Right now, we are entering playoff time. It's this is for all the marbles. This is for the championship. This is to crown the king. Yep. And
Yah made recycling very popular and in vogue before it became in vogue.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And, again, there's no time travel here. Nothing special going on. God keeps and coddles and enjoys souls that tickle him, that he finds interesting, that he finds useful, that he can rely on. We always know that souls go to Shamaim. We're clear that God took Enoch so they could redeploy him. It's obvious that Yahowah took ElYah, and he even tells us when he's going to redeploy him. He tells us that after a natural death, that Dowd is coming back twice more, once to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, Makorim, which Dowd gives the exact date that he's going to fulfill those and describes exactly how he's going to fulfill them through crucifixion and go into to Sheol. And he says that Dowd's coming back as ElYah, as the influence of God, and going to be king forevermore. So we know that God is on record saying, I'm taking these people, their souls, and I'm putting them in these places in my timeline, chronologically, never going back in time, but putting these people in their place along my timeline and using them multiple times. So you're saying, well, so he said that about 3 people, but he can't do it with 5.
Right.
Strict limit of 3 this week. And he's on record saying I'm going to do it 3 times with Dowd, but he can't do it 7 or 8 times.
Sure can.
Why? Why? And why wouldn't he, since he can? And why would God say, I'm going to do something really important, but I'm going to try somebody I've never worked with before? Why would he do that? No. It's
Craig, you just also have given meaning to another perspective on anti-Shemitic. We all know that it really means against the name. We think of Yahowah, but knowing who Dowd is and what another manifestation was as Shem,
Boy, isn't that?
it's against my son as well. You're against my name and you're against my son as well.
Yeah,
Wow.
chalk one up. That's a good one.
Exactly.
That's almost as good. That's almost as good as Will's. I'm all in, but it's true since Noach practiced run on delivering the kinsman redeemer. That's the reason we know that it was Boaz and Ruth that returned to deliver the kinsman redeemer, because that's the promise. And it's Noach and his wife that gave birth to Shem. And Shem means the name. And so anti-Shemite is against Dowd. That's Dowd's soul.
There you go.
Absolutely. That's another one. Yeah, and that is absolutely true in Islam and in Christianity and in Judaism. In Judaism, they don't give Dowd any credit for being the son of God. In fact, they say it's impossible. They give Dowd no credit for being the Messiah. They give Dowd no credit for being the returning king. They give Dowd no credit for being the savior who enabled the benefits of the covenant. Everything God said. They give Dowd no credit for being the chosen one. They don't even pronounce his name right.
In the backdrop of all this, and excuse my interruption, but for several days now, I've been thinking about how Satan. You said Satan didn't want to be like God; he wants to be like Dowd. I mean,
Correct.
you see, everything is just so overwhelmingly. These are the two that are fighting it out, basically. And
Satan is a created being.
Yeah.
And as a created being, he knows he can't be Yahweh.
Yeah.
But he prevails, and he gets to keep the earth as his for however long it lasts, and it's not very long because everybody would be dead, if he can replace ElYah. And so in Isaiah 14, when it says he wants to be above the Most High, it's ElYah. And the one person that Yahweh calls ElYah is Dowd. So, in fact, what Satan's trying to do is to replace the Messiah and Son of God, Dowd. So, do you know a religion that has a Messiah and Son of God that replaces Dowd? Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. So, guess who is the God of Christianity? All you got to do is just put you could probably put that one through an AI, and an AI would be able to figure that one out. Yeah, even an AI could figure that one out.
Yeah.
So Jesus Christ was modeled after Satan. That's why the man that invented Jesus Christ admitted that he was demon possessed in Paul.
Yeah, obviously.
But what we're going to find out is really interesting. The reason that Paul wrote against Shimon, who became Peter, and wrote against and condemned John and condemned Jacob, who was renamed James. You know why he went against those 3 people who were supporters of the Messiah, who happened to be Dowd? You know why he went against those 3? And where the whole thing came from of disciples?
Were they the Ebionites or something? They were saving all the books? No?
His brothers.
Oh.
Guess whose son?
They were, yeah.
Boaz's. And Boaz and Ruth. Ruth delivers the kinsman redeemer to Boaz. So Ruth and Boaz are the mother and father of Dowd, whom they named Emmanuel.
God is with us.
God is with us. And because their role was to support him, because what he was volunteering to do was extraordinary. And there was no way he was going to be left alone and not understand, not appreciate good parenting. and to grow up in a family. And our second-born son, his name was Shimon. Our third-born son, his name was Jacob. And our fourth son, his name was Yahukanan. That is how the myth of the disciples was born.
Wow.
That's the people that Paul went after, that he corrupted. See, Christianity and Paul, they don't have any creativity.
No.
It's all about counterfeiting and corrupting. But
Bunch of
I've been asked that so many
plagiarizers.
times, and I never had an answer for how in the world those things came to be, because it's clear that there were those people and that was the argument. Well, now we know.
It's a plagiarizer on steroids.
The plagiarizers on steroids. Well, gentlemen,
Oh,
I think that it's God's not going to have any problem with us saying it's time for us to say goodnight. Shabbat shalom to everyone. Please shalom to Yisra'el as you're continuing to endure the mistakes of your political and other leaders. But Shabbat shalom to one and all. Rich, thank you for doing this. We think that Rich is our ElYah character. He is our ElYah lookalike. What do you guys all think?
Yeah, he's got some
You-
zingers too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think either Will, you or Kevin could be our Moses lookalike.
Yeah. Kevin's got
Kirk
an
is
impressive
going to be
career.
my golfing buddy, but I think we have some players here. We got characters here that could be in these roles. Anyway, it's being silly now. Happy
Worker, that's me.
Shabbat shalom to one and all. I thought this was really an interesting discussion all the way through. So
It's a good
if
show.
95% of the show was extemporaneous, I still think the topics we talked about are pertinent, meaningful.
Not me.
And I think we came up with some really interesting ideas. The idea of what really it is to be anti-Shem, and how God's gone all in, and what cards he's holding, and why he's gone all in.
Wow.
So thank you,
Thank you,
everyone,
too.
and we'll look
No,
forward
no.
to being with you again on Monday.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Good
Shabbat
night.
shalom, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Shalom.
Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.